Hello and welcome to Balancing Act Life and Struggles of a Teenage Girl, a mental health and wellness and semi unfiltered podcast made for teens by a teen. I'm your host, Morea, a 16-year-old girl from New York. And here on Balancing Act, I bring you weekly episodes featuring relatable conversations, personal stories, and practical insights to help you navigate life's balancing act and related challenges, and to remind you that you are not alone. At what point does self-improvement become self-destruction? In today's episode, I will be reading an essay that I wrote when I was in my freshman year of high school. This is an essay that covers my journey with an eating disorder, focusing on middle school and reflecting on how it developed over time. This essay is written to provide an unfiltered glimpse into my mindset when I was really struggling with an eating disorder in middle school and in the beginning of high school. The thoughts presented in this essay are irrational, but they felt so real at the time. Please keep in mind that I do not endorse these thought patterns, and I would never want anyone else to go through what I went through. Instead, I hope this essay creates a window into what it is like to suffer from an eating disorder and from perfectionism. My experience with an eating disorder specifically was a manifestation of underlying perfectionism and feeling out of control with how confusing COVID was, and then on top of that, going through puberty right at the beginning of COVID. I know a lot of other people can relate to these underlying feelings. So even if you have not necessarily experienced an eating disorder specifically, you may be able to relate to some of the other themes and experiences illustrated in this essay. Hopefully, this will help someone to feel less alone in their experience, or this writing can act as a resource that you can share with others to give them a glimpse into what it's like to have an eating disorder, because eating disorders are too often misunderstood. I know that my personal experiences by no means reflect those of everyone who has experienced an eating disorder, but I thought I'd share this essay with you because it is something that is extremely personal to me. It's something that I wrote originally without mentioning any names in it because I wanted to share it somehow, but was so afraid of the stigma that might come on or how it might change the way that people viewed me. But as I've learned throughout this podcast and talking to people like Sophie Regal on another episode and reading her book and seeing the huge impact that it could have on people's lives to share my story, I've decided to share this episode. Because when you share your stories, you're showing how this is not something that people should be ashamed of. You should not be ashamed of yourself because you have an eating disorder. It's not something that should be stigmatized. You are so strong for trying so hard to work through it. I hope that by sharing this story, by being vulnerable in my podcast like this, hopefully this will resonate with someone out there. And if you see yourself in this, know that you are not alone and that you are worthy of reaching out for help. That there are people out there who will support you and who will listen to your story. And those people may not be your parents. I know that can be the reality for some people. They don't feel comfortable sharing this with their parents. But there are people out there who you can talk to, and I'll try to provide some resources on my website. If anything in this essay does not support where you are in your journey right now, please stop listening to it. Find another one of my episodes or another resource that would be more supportive of where you are in your journey right now. The last thing I want to do is to trigger you. And I know how awful it can be when you're triggered. Okay, so let's dive into it. They may be smarter than me, I would think, but do they have these? I smirked at myself in the mirror as I admired my glorious two-pack abs. Today had been an especially difficult day in the 4th grade. Emily had flaunted her perfect handwriting and had demonstrated his impeccable multiplication skills, and I had once again failed to understand long division. But the mirror was always there for me, a reassuring reminder that no matter how unaccomplished I was compared to my peers, I always had my two pack. I was certain they didn't have this, and I was therefore superior to them all. Unfortunately for fourth grade me, abs don't last forever. The mirror transforms from my closest friend into my greatest enemy. COVID hits. No one thought it would last. 3 weeks, mom says. Maybe a month? It's dinner one night. We're having pasta. I've just returned from the bathroom where I got a quick glimpse of my abs in the mirror. Unlike the mirror's usual words of praise, now it only seemed to scold me. My two pack had disappeared. Mommy, Daddy, I think I'm gaining weight and I don't know why. Dad looks at my plate. It contains my third serving of pasta, precariously stacked. The plate is devoid of any splash of color, any source of protein. Well, maybe just have more vegetables instead of so much pasta. An innocent remark. No one could have predicted the treacherous effects. One less serving of pasta turned into two less, and then none at all. My snacking came to an abrupt halt. Cardio every day became mandatory. After many instances of recovery followed by relapse, I suffered from discoloring under my eyes, low blood pressure, and had lost my period due to malnutrition. These were only the physical aspects of my disorder. A crush of anxiety filled my chest whenever I looked in the mirror. I saw a girl who would never be skinny enough, never smart enough, never worthy enough. I remember the doctor's appointment the summer after seventh grade. I was on one of those blue medical chairs in a room flooded by harsh fluorescent lighting. My doctor and parents sat across from me, the corners of their mouths turned down in identical frowns. The doctor's eyes locked with mine. I'm sorry, but swim team won't be an option this summer. A single tear spilled out at first, but that was soon followed by a flood of scorching hot tears and snot. My vision was blurred, my mask suffocating. The room disappeared, and I was left alone to sit and burn in my anxiety and grief. I recalled my most recent reflection. A girl with the faintest trace of abs. Almost there. Almost perfect. Swim team would be the final step to reaching perfection, a calorie torching activity for hours every day. And now it had been stolen from me. This doctor was a monster, intent on destroying my life and my accomplishments. But there was also a monster inside of me, a master manipulator and schemer that would reach its goals no matter the cost. I concentrate and block the flow of my tears. I will gain the weight she wants me to gain, because then I can join swim team and lose it all again. After 2 weeks, I'd gained a few pounds. I was on the right track, but it wasn't enough. My vitals were doing better, but just barely. It wouldn't be safe for me to join the team. My mental health had been held together by the fragile hope that I would get to participate, a hope that had now slipped away. When questioned about my absence from the swim team, I told my friends that I couldn't exert myself because of a medical condition. Asthma, maybe. The truth was my secret, tucked away in the far corners of the earth, never to be read. Because if they learned of my struggles, the perfect image I was creating for myself would shatter. Then arrives the first day of 8th grade. School's only a place to learn, excel academically, and to use as a stepping stone to a successful career. It was not a place where friends existed. My only companion was my aspiration to finish the year with a 100% grade point average. After receiving a particularly unsatisfactory score on a science quiz, I drifted into the gym. If I couldn't be a perfect student, then at least I could achieve a flawless reflection. I had deemed that the most efficient and effective way to accomplish this goal was to lift weights. I approached the barbell with caution. What if I failed? What if I made a fool of myself in front of the trainer? Too weak. You're a sick, pathetic baby girl. Girlie, you'll never lift that thing. Don't even try. I looked in the mirror. I was skinny, but not skinny enough. Smart, I guess, but never smart enough, and I was weak. But that could be changed. I took a deep breath, placed my hand on the rough metal bar, ducked under, and lifted. A whole 45 pounds. By the end of the year, I could do 3 pull ups with no assistance, bench around 85 pounds, and squat 135. It was more than many other 14-year-old girls could do, and I was happy to finally be above them in my strength. I'd gained enough weight to be in a healthy range, my period had come back, and I no longer felt that sickening crush of anxiety when I looked in the mirror. I had even made some friends. The summer began, and I promised myself that I would get absolutely jacked for my freshman year of high school. But of course, life has its plot twists. Mine was a mountain biking clinic that resulted in a fractured wrist. I'd like to say that I was mountain biking deep in the woods and that I went too fast over a jump, got 3 feet of air, and flew off my bike like a superhero. After that moment of flight, the breeze blowing through my hair, I crash landed and fractured my wrist. The truth is, I was going over a practice ramp. I went too fast and fell off my bike. It was not as glorious as what I told people. When I learned that my wrist was fractured, I cried through a pained smile. I could still get jacked with a fractured wrist, couldn't I? There was no way that I could be bothered by the fact that despite my recovery, my swim team dreams were again crushed. I pretended as if my wrist were not a problem, but it was. I lost my lifting, my swimming, my clearest path to perfection. That summer, I ran every day. Without lifting or swimming, running was the fastest way to my dreams of excellence. Didn't matter if my knees creaked or if I felt fatigue begin to overtake my body. I needed to run the miles. I needed to escape my disappointing reality, my pitiful reflection. It doesn't matter if it's looking my best, achieving perfect grades, or an outstanding athletic performance. All are just manifestations of my underlying issue, my consuming desire to attain perfection. If I cannot lift more, run faster, or be skinnier than the person I was yesterday, then I have failed. Society preaches the importance of self improvement, of being the best version of oneself. At what point does self improvement become self destruction? One day I wish to see a phoenix in the mirror, a bird that has overcome trial and flames, a bird reborn from the ashes with new life. But for now, all I see is the reflection of a sick little birdie I have always been. I only have my tiny wings to support me as I battle the wind. The only way for this bird to ultimately survive is to work with its environment, not against it. That would require overcoming the fear of falling. But it doesn't yet know how. Thank you for listening to my personal essay. If you've made it to the end, I really, really appreciate you for taking the time out of your busy day to listen to my story. It means a lot. This essay is talking a lot about my mindset and the way I viewed things at the time. And it was written from a reflective perspective. I can see how these thoughts are not healthy, but how these thoughts are also so real. because this is the way that I was thinking. Sometimes these thoughts still do come up for me about needing to always have a purpose, always be trying to achieve something, because if I'm not perfect in one thing, I have to be perfect in the other. And it's something that I am working towards getting better at, working towards self esteem that isn't tied to one thing or the other. But it is so hard to work through. I hope listening to this has helped you to realize that you're not alone, whether you deal with perfection, anxiety, an eating disorder, anything like that. I also want you to know that you should never compare your experience to that of another person. You should never think that you're more or less worthy of getting help because your experience was worse than theirs or better than theirs, but the truth is all of our experiences are different, and this is just my experience. I hope that through listening to this, even though my experience is different than yours because we're different people, that this is in any way helping you to reflect on your own experience. For me, it's helpful to see how unhealthy these thoughts were, how hard I was and still am on myself, because it helps me to step outside of my body. All I want to do is comfort this younger version of myself who thought that I had to be perfect, who felt like I was a little baby bird struggling against everything. Treat yourself with the same compassion you would treat your best friend, someone you care so much about, because you are worthy of that love. You don't have to be perfect to be loved. I know it's so much easier said than done, but it's true. I have to take care of the little child inside of you. You have to nurture that inner child. Treat yourself with the love and the respect that you deserve. And this love and respect is absolutely unconditional. I hope that by sharing the story, it has helped you. If there's someone who you think needs to hear this story, then by all means, please send it to them so that they realize that they're not alone. And if someone sent this to you, they care about you. They're looking out for you. And if you've captured your story or experience in writing, nonfiction, fiction, essays, poetry, maybe artwork or film, or any other source of art or media, and you would want to share it with me or have me put it on my website, please reach out to me through the podcast social media or my email or the website, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you for making it to the end if you have. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. If you're going through something tough right now, that's okay. It's okay for life to suck sometimes. But I also want you to know that with enough work, with reaching out to other people, and maybe talking to your doctor about medication if they think that might be something that could work for you. I'm not a health professional or a mental health professional, so I always recommend speaking to your doctor who really knows what they're talking about. These things can really help you. And sometimes it can seem like it's never going to end, that you'll never get out of this cycle of darkness. But trust me, it's possible for you to lead a happy, fulfilling life. And so, with that, I will actually end this episode. Thank you so much for listening, and have an amazing rest of your day or week. Sending lots of love and support your way. Thank you for listening to this episode of Balancing Act: Life and Struggles of a Teenage Girl. If this episode resonated with you, or if you know someone it could help, please feel free to share it with your loved ones or on social media. You can find us on Instagram at balancingact.podcast or on our website balancingact.life, which are both linked in the description. If you really want to support the podcast, leaving us a rating, hopefully a good one, on Apple Podcasts or Spotify would be invaluable. If you have any questions or comments about this episode, or if you want to suggest a topic or person for a future episode, please feel free to reach out to us through social media, our website, or email, which you can find on the website. Thanks again for taking the time to listen. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and remember, life's a balancing act, and sometimes you fall on your face, but you are not alone.